Every person who transports or causes to be transported within Canada goods destined for export must, at an officer's request, give the officer free access to any premise or place under the person's control that is attached to or forms any part or place where goods destined for export are reported, loaded, unloaded, or stored. And I don't see anything here about a warrant. I don't see anything where you have the ability to say no to this. It just says if you produce any goods destined for export at an officer's request, give the officer free access to any premise that had anything to do with that package, whether it was your home where you packed it, your workplace where you just wrote the address on it, the car that you drove it from the store to your home. You must give the officer free access to it as long as they ask at an officer's request. I don't see anything about warrants. I don't see anything about the ability to say no. And that seems very problematic.
Doesn't it seem like they're going after truckers?
Well, yes.
Where do most truckers bring their truck? At a home?
Well, yeah.
Who stood up to the government last time? Truckers.
Yeah.
Are you going to tell me that what you just read, reread it again, bring it back to the screen and reread it? I just want to make sure I'm not on crack here. What you just read sounded to me that kind of identifying truckers as a possibility of problems.
Every person who transports or causes to be transported within Canada goods destined for export must, at an officer's request, give the officer free access to any premise or place that is attached to or forms part of any place where the goods were reported, loaded, unloaded, or stored. Again, if you brought that package to your home and wrote an address on it, that's now part of where that was stored or loaded. And now they have free access. I don't see anything but warrants. I don't see the ability to say no. I just see must, at an officer's request, give the officer free access to any premise or place under the person's control. That seems highly to be abused.
Go back, read the paragraph that's underneath it, because now they talk about warehouses. What the fuck's a warehouse? My garage could be considered a warehouse if I store my stuff there, right? We're talking transport. Now we're talking warehouse. So we're talking where the good might have been stored. A lot of people have small businesses, and guess what? They store their stuff at home in their garage. So just read that part. See what it says.
It says the operator of a warehouse or a bonded warehouse must, at an officer's request, give the officer free access to the warehouse or any premise or place under the operator's control that is attached to or forms part of the warehouse, and open any package or container of goods destined for export, or remove any packaging from those goods. It's a bit wordy, but essentially what they're saying is the same thing. If you have any goods inside of a warehouse, at an officer's request. I don't see anything about warrants. I don't see anything about due process, the ability to say no. It is simply you must, at their request, give them free access to the entire warehouse too. There's so much potential for abuse here.
If they don't like you, basically what they could do is shut down your business.
Yes.
While they investigate. Remember, yesterday we had Simon on. The arson happened a week prior to F1. What did he say afterwards? The months of summer are where they make their money to compensate the winter months where they lose money. Do you think he's the only person that has a business in that situation? I just want to show you something, because again, it's all about the way you word things. So I asked Google, can my garage be considered a warehouse? No, a typical residential garage is not generally considered a warehouse. Generally. It's not is not generally. You look at purpose. Warehouses are used for storing and distributing goods for businesses, while garages are for parking vehicles and storing personal belongings. Okay, so cool. I run a business out of my house. I have a shared space that's my garage. Half of it is for my cars, but the other half is for storing the stuff that I sell online. And yes, I do have customers in the US. That's it, because I'm exporting to the US. Now is my garage now considered a warehouse? Or does that mean you get to impound my cars because they shared the same space as my warehouse, that is my residential garage, and then you get to bring them to the pound while you dismantle them to make sure I'm not stuffing inside the car. Where the does it end?
Does it end? Yeah. And I'll give you another scenario. Let's say
Of
you're
course.
on government.
Of course
let's
you
say-
are.
Let's say you're gonna let's say you're on government radar because you're an activist, you're speaking out about something, and maybe they know you have guns or think you have guns, and they want to make an example of you, and you send a package to your niece in the United States. It's got a doll for her birthday. That's now goods destined for export. They have that. They can go back. They can say, okay, well, we suspect there's drugs in here, and we suspect it was stored or loaded in your premise at your house. We're going to go back to you, and we will have free access to your house. You cannot say no because of our suspicion in good faith. It's good faith that there's drugs in this package, and we'll go in. They ransack your home. Then they open the package. Oh, it is just a doll. Well, sorry, our bad, but hey, it was good faith. And the whole point, even if they don't charge you anything, the whole point is to intimidate you. The whole point is the process is the punishment, just so that you know that they can do this whenever they want to.
You're absolutely 100% right. This is all people need, is to be intimidated for them to be compliant.
Silence.
Just afterwards to just say, you know what? I don't want to deal with this. It's not worth it. They just need to make a few example of people to make it so complicated, so troublesome and so worrisome for people that they're just, you're crushing dissent before it actually starts.
And that's like in the UK when they're going knocking on old women's doors for writing a tweet or something at 2 a.m. 8 hours later, it's like release with no charge. But meanwhile, they dragged you out of bed at 2 a.m., dragged you down to the police station. The process was the punishment. They know they weren't ever going to charge you, but they also know that's going to be terrifying. You're going to be intimidated, and everyone else is going to see what happens when you go against government narratives. And Wise Guy, good. That's a good point. He says, I think the important words were under your control. Any place you own or control is your home, your office, your car, driving to work. That's under your control. In the wording of that law, I didn't see anything about warrants. I didn't see anything about the ability to say no. It's just the officer will be given free access, period.